The More Than Numbers podcast.
Software's always up to date, the security's always top notch, and your software's got to be able to scale up and to cope with that.
It can be efficient, but you really want to basically automate everything you can do.
Don't become a slave to your system, make your system work for you.
This will save you so much time. If you set up a lot of rules, in the end you might only be dealing with like a handful at the end.
The real-time access to your data is key.
Otherwise you're not going to get the full benefits of what you set out to do.
Before you know where you are, a monster's been born.
And welcome to CK's first ever More Than Numbers podcast. My name's Alex Bolter and I'm one of the partners here at CK.
The More Than Numbers podcast.
I'm thrilled today to be joined by Steve Henson and Ben Hopcraft to talk everything technology. It's so prevalent, not just for those medium and large businesses, but all the way down to small and micro businesses, as well as sole traders. And we're seeing a real push from government with making tax digital for income tax as well, to make sure we're pushing that technology further forward. So it'll be really useful to get Ben and Steve together to talk about how you can use it in your business and some of those kind of key tips and hints. So first, Steve, do you want to just introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Steve Henson. I'm a director for CK Systems, as you've already said, a sister company to CKCA. I joined CK back in 1985 to become a qualified accountant. And those are the days when IT had just started going into companies. So we turn up to do the audit and accounts, to be met with a raft of printouts rather than the standard, the old traditional ledgers. To be asked, right, can we have our accounts and can you do our audit, please? So the partner at the time thought we should be advising our clients or help them along the way. So we became partners with, we've done Sage, we've done some Exchequer, a bit of Tetra along the way, but the one we've always stuck with from day one is Pegasus Software. We've recently got involved with another provider, Implicit Software as well. So I've gone through from the manual set of books through the introduction of someone presses a button and as if by magic a load of statements appears and through to where we find ourselves today.
And what are the sort of sizes of clients that you work with at CK Systems?
It's a big range of clients. Our smallest client is a small payroll only single user, right through up to our biggest client is 60 users.
Brilliant. And Ben, what about you? A slightly shorter journey than Steve.
Yeah, so I'm Ben Hopcraft. I've been here coming up to 3 years now as a trainee accountant, and I've found myself recently dabbling in the digital side with our smaller clients using your likes of Sage, QuickBooks and Xero.
Brilliant. Steve, there's one thing that we tend to hear quite a lot of, which is cloud versus on-site, and what does that mean? It's quite a difficult concept to grasp, I think. So can you try and clear the waters for us?
Yes, yeah. This mythical sort of one phrase covers a whole range of scenarios. Really, the cloud. What is the cloud? In its simplest explanation, it's just a file server somewhere else in the world that we access over the internet. So two sort of flavours of it really. Software can be built specifically for the cloud native. You say you're accessing it over a browser or on a phone, a tablet, as well as your PC, or software can be hosted on the cloud, which is the same bit of software, but you're actually accessing it again over the internet onto a remote server. But it's not browser based. So you in those scenarios, you need a secure RDP link or a VPN, something like that. So
is there anything that people should worry about between cloud versus non-cloud in terms of security and all of those features?
It's personal preference, really. So two sides of the argument. Some people like that have their software on a server on their premises, totally under their control. The flip side of that is put it on a server somewhere else on a specifically designed secure data center. The argument there is the software is always up to date, the security is always top notch, got all the relevant accreditations, as well as the physical security of actually someone getting into the data center who's there's arguments either side really, and it just as ever comes down to personal choice.
Yeah, brilliant. Ben, obviously, the sort of clients that you're working with, those small micro businesses, sole traders, really starting out on their journey. They see so many adverts on the TV. We've all seen them for the Sage, the QuickBooks, the Xero, all those sorts of things.
Yeah.
Why do you think it's important that they go onto software and use software? And kind of where do you start?
So I think, understandably, it can be quite intimidating to these people to figure out what software they need, because, like you said, there's adverts absolutely everywhere. So understandably, it can be confusing. I think you really need to drill down into your quirks and uniqueness of a business, where you might, your company might have a particular large amount of stock or foreign exchange or multiple bank accounts, disbursements maybe. These things are all unique to your business. So I think different softwares have got their own pros and cons. So you need to find the one that aligns with yourself as a company best.
Yeah. And it is kind of, where do you start? What's the first thing that you need to do? So when you've decided on whatever software it is, in terms of efficiency, how do you get it to be as efficient as it possibly can be?
Yeah, so you might see on the adverts on the television all the time, this will save you so much time. It can be efficient, but you really want to basically automate everything you can do. Mm-hmm. Whether that's live bank feeds, purchase automation, bank rules, things of the like. And if you get this right, that can really be a big time saving to you.
So just to dig a little bit deeper into that, because it sounds great, but what does it actually mean? So a live bank feed, what does that actually mean? So your bank rules.
Yes. So a live bank feed is where you connect your bank to your chosen software, and it will all the transactions will pull through as you would see on your mobile banking app. And then you from the software, you actually deal with the transactions there. Now, we can do this, deal with these transactions more efficiently if you set up bank rules. Now, a bank rule is where you set up a rule, as it is in the name, where you might have a particular amount, a direct debit, say, that's for £30 a month, and it always goes to your telephone provider. So you can deal with that as a rule to automatically see it, the computer will see it and deal with it for you. So say you've got, 100 transactions a month. If you set up a lot of rules, in the end, you might only be dealing with like a handful at the end. Mm-hmm. So that's a big time saving. Now the other one is your purchase automation or your sales automation, where there's plenty of softwares and websites out there where you can actually scan in or take a picture of your invoice, put it through this system, and it will read out we'll take all the information from it, the name of the company, the date, all the necessary things, and it will put it straight into your software for you. And if you do these things in the right manner, you can actually match the bank transaction to the invoice, and this is where the real time saving comes.
So it sounds great.
Yeah.
It sounds easy, but nothing's ever quite that easy, is it?
No, it's definitely
so I should imagine there is quite a lot of time that needs to go in at the beginning to get this right, because I think one of the sayings that Steve's mentioned a few times is rubbish in, rubbish out.
That's the one.
So really important that you kind of take that time.
Yeah. So it might be a bit underwhelming the first year, because you really do have to take the time in to understand what you're doing. So say you get all these transactions and you put set the bank rule up and everything's going to the wrong place, like you say, garbage in, garbage out. So I think you need to really take the time to speak to someone like ourselves, really get the understanding of what you need to be doing. Otherwise, you won't be reaping the rewards of what you set out to in the first place.
Yeah, and I know that's something that you've worked a lot with clients on in terms of training them on the software as well, and supporting them as they're kind of getting it up and running. In terms of the difference between using that software that's real-time information and what historically has happened sometimes when the information comes in, the accounts don't need to be done until 9 months after the year end. We're dealing with, as accountants, quite historic data then, whereas we've got real-time data here. So some of the benefits that you've seen.
Yeah, so one of the big benefits of these cloud softwares is you can access it at any time, anywhere. So you might be on holiday as a business owner and you think, oh, actually, I need to do this, or check how the business can go in, and you can actually do that from wherever you are at any time. So I think one of the real benefits is if you always keep on top. So say you've got your live bank feed, that's always going to be running in the background. So if you actually deal with the bank transactions daily, you've always got real time information, and that there's another benefit with the software is you've got loads of reports. The vast majority of the template ones are perfectly fine, but you can actually customise your own to your own spec, and you can always get constant, a snapshot of where your business is at the time, because you've got these live reports.
And I suppose a snapshot of looking at your cash flow, making informed business decisions as well, as they go throughout the year, rather than based on historic information.
Exactly.
So
Just coming back to the advantages of the cloud then.
Yeah.
In that, Ben already mentioned you can access it anytime, 24/7. If it's on the cloud, that's great. If your office is closed at 5:30, or if someone drives through the green box at the bottom of your road and something off your internet, if you're on the cloud, no problem. Just go home, go to McDonald's, anywhere where you get on the internet, and
you're back on
using your system again.
Yeah. So one of the things that I wanted to talk about was the use of different apps, the integration of those apps. So it's not just about having one package, Sage, QuickBooks Zero. There are lots of other things that can link in, and I know you've had experience of that with a client recently, basically solving a problem for them. So can you talk a bit about that?
Yeah, so like you've mentioned, there's a multitude of apps out there that can help you be more efficient at using what you're using. So the likes of auto entry, so you can run through your scan of an invoice or a picture. There's also an app on your phone where you can take a picture and it does it for you. So if you've got your, you get your invoice there and then, and before you forget about it, you can take a picture of it straight away, and that's all straight away gone into your software of choice. And if you keep on top of these, it can make the process a little bit easier.
The one that you've done recently involved actually helping cash flow, because it was about making sure that customers paid as quickly as they possibly could by putting a link onto their sales invoice. I think that's really important, because cash is absolutely king, particularly well, for all businesses, but particularly for those small and micro businesses, to make sure that they're getting their money in as quickly as possible. So
there's the likes of SumUp and Square. You can interlink with your invoices you can send out through your software as well. That's another thing worth mentioning. You can actually provide yourself with invoices using these softwares, and you can send these out to the clients. And you can include a link to pay, and that again makes smoothness the whole process. Be more efficient by doing so.
And I know you've kind of enjoyed taking on this
somewhat
in your
quite sadly
your training to become a chartered accountant. And I think it's really important, and something that I know, Steve, you and the team at CK Systems really pride yourself on, is knowing the outcome, not just what needs to go in. We understand what a set of accounts look like. You've got trained accountants working for you guys, so it's really important for you.
Well, first thing to say, one thing that sort of opened my eyes really when I first started, when I was sort of at Ben's stage now, sort of getting into, from an accounting background, like you've already said, used to going in after the event, after it's happened, and telling them, advising where they should be going. But looking back, you suddenly realise, hang on, I'm at the sharp end now. They want to send these invoices and look at the stock or look at the payroll. Like, this is happening here and now, and they want an answer here and now. So, just to sort of comment on what you just said, really, you need that underpinning accounting knowledge to be able to train, support people on accounting software. It's key.
And I suppose just taking that one step further, once they've kind of maybe started off on the likes of the smaller software packages, the cloud packages, the Sage, QuickBooks Zero, what are the signs then that they've outgrown that package and perhaps need to take the next step, which is where the likes of CK Systems come in?
Yeah, if your business is successful, and hopefully it is, you're going to be growing, so you're adding more people to your organisation, you're getting more customers, more suppliers, therefore more transactions. So this is starting to put a bit more traffic through your software. And your software's got to be able to scale up to cope with that. typically you get more locations, more stock warehouses, maybe you're going into different currencies, different bank accounts, so the whole thing sort of snowballs. So typically what I always see is a classic sign of outgrowing is, and quite naturally, people start to find workarounds or get third-party bolt-ons, and then suddenly, and the classic one is spreadsheets. People, oh yeah, we'll put it on a spreadsheet, and then you've got spreadsheets on top of spreadsheets, and before you know where you are, a monster's been born, and people are sort of spending more time administering and managing these spreadsheets when they're not really dealing with the cause issue, which comes back to the software.
Yeah.
Which is, again, is something, we can help and advise on.
Yeah, because I know one of the things that you always say is being really clear, well, for businesses to be really clear with what they want from the outset. And that's where you have those conversations almost to tease out, because as business owners, you're wearing so many different hats. It's teasing out what's really important, what really matters, what are those pain points, and that's where you come in.
Yeah, exactly that, really. I mean, the problems are usually, in principle, the same, whatever size of business, in whatever industry you're in. It's sort of the real-time access to your data is key, and if that data is a mess, then you can't make good decisions on that. So, when you're looking at your existing systems, the key is centralise and streamline. And
I know CK Systems have been quite innovative recently with developing some of your own products out there that support the likes of Pegasus Opera. Do you want to just tell us a bit about those and how you saw an issue that customers were facing and solved it?
Yeah, if I'll give an example of a client was using Pegasus Software based not far from here in Stourbridge. They'd got a number of add-ons all around their software, and their problem was the number of databases they'd got. They've got the marketing database, they've got their accounts database, they've got another one for assets, another one for stock, project management. It was a bit all over the place, really. And what the key nub of that one was that they hadn't got sort of one source of truth. And that once we'd sort of explained that to them and realised that typically most transactions will start in your accounting software, then go off through the business, whether it's a project, whether it's been manufacturing or whatever. And it always ends up back in the accounting software. So that's central to the whole business. So what we did with them in particular was they had a number of projects based all around the UK with managers of those projects. It started with the purchasing side. All the managers of those projects were emailing the accounts department, asking the accounts department to place purchase orders on suppliers, and then if those purchase orders are sizable, then they've got to go through an approval routine. But the accounts department were just being bombarded with 2 or 3 people. All they did all day was just basically take the emails from the managers and retype these purchase orders. So CK Systems took a step back from it and thought, how can we make this better? And we came up with the idea of writing an app, a purchase ordering portal. So the managers now, if the orders are below a certain limit, they just raise the purchase orders, they go off to the suppliers, and they go straight into their accounting software. If they're above, there is an approval limit, then it goes through various approval workflows to then be sent to the suppliers and into their accounting software. The amount of time that's saved is it's immeasurable, really.
Well, and so important in a world where costs are getting higher and higher for businesses that they need to be as efficient as they possibly can be. And I know one of the other apps that you've developed is about customers placing their own orders directly into the accounting ledgers. So again, saving time.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, that started life with talking to a customer. I was surprised myself, actually. It was 7 or 8 years ago. Sales teams out, visiting the customers, wanted to know the state of play on the customer's account before they got there. Can they look at their stock situation? Can they place orders while they're there? That again, find their way back into the accounting software. So we wrote an app for that, a mobile sales app on tablets and iPads for the salespeople. Then COVID came along, put a stop to any field sales teams being out there visiting customers. So again, highlighting our innovation, we sort of flipped that round to be a portal based. It's a website based on the customer's file server. Customers now can securely log into their accounts look at the stock situation, look at their own accounts, and place orders.
So in terms of software, particularly when you get to the size of businesses that you're often dealing with, it can seem like it is just this mammoth, almost all-consuming. How do businesses best keep it simple?
Really just to look at the problem and break it down into, the old adage is, how do you eat an elephant in small bites? So it's having someone who's, first of all, got the experience and the knowledge of looking at, what else is available that could make it better, look at the situation. And then, like the one we just talked about, the client in Stourbridge, there were other issues on there, but the core one was the purchase order inside. So, we put a solution in for that, got that in, and next we were on to other issues they got, which is access to management information, expense management, and there are other areas in the business. So, gradually that's come on board to be a fully more integrated, more streamlined, and therefore more efficient solution for them. So it's about really just, I suppose, problem solving and having the experience then to sort of approach it in the right way, in a methodical, but again, with that underpinning accounting knowledge, knowing, look, that's where we are at the moment, but here's where we need to be. And what are the steps to get there?
So I want to talk to both of you now about your experiences with how best building that relationship with the clients is so important to help them achieve their goals. And I know Steve's been doing a little bit longer than you, Ben, but I think it's really important both from a CK Systems point of view, but something that we pride ourselves on at CK anyway, is those long-standing relationships that we have with clients. So in terms of what you're doing and helping clients, why is it so important that it's not just somebody at the end of a phone, it's a relationship?
Well, I think, if you become personable with this person, I think naturally along the way, with your relationship, you're going to come across problems with your accounts somewhere, or just the business in general. Now, if you're personable with the person, they feel much happier just to pick up the phone and just ask the questions that they need to. And often if you catch the problems early, I'm talking from an accounting point of view, often they snowball. So if you get it resolved early on, that's the best result you can have. So being in a position where the client feels happy just to answer the phone to you, that's all you need.
Brilliant. Steve?
Yeah, just to reiterate what Ben's trying to say, but people do business with people. Again, it's the same you always hear. So what I think we do very well at CK Systems is we just talk to our clients, even if it's just picking the phone up saying, look, not heard from you for a while, how's it going? Can I come and see you? And then sit and have a review. We do that as a matter of course at CK Systems, and like Ben said earlier on, the more you're talking to them, problems haven't snowballed. Hopefully you nip things in the bud. Yeah,
absolutely. So loads to take in there, but what would be your kind of top 3 tips for people to get the most out of their software? Obviously appreciating you're at different, the businesses will be at different points.
I think from my point of view is, really taking the time, investing the time into getting to, understand what you're doing. I think if you don't do that, you are naturally, as we mentioned before, garbage in, garbage out. So you want to make sure you're doing the right things, because otherwise you're not going to get the full benefits of what you set out to do. So if you take the time to understand it, you can, do everything right. You'll reap the rewards. I think I would also set up a live bank feed. I think that will help you no end, because you're not going to manually, if you were to put it in manually, you might make errors whilst you're entering things. You might not keep on top of it. The live bank feed is always ticking away in the background. So that would be the other one. And the last one would be automate everything you can possibly do. So use your apps on your phone, taking the pictures, always scanning everything you can, do it as soon as you can. All just reduce errors really, and make the most of what you set out to do.
Steve?
Yeah, mine again. It comes from what I talked about. Again, talking to your clients, go and see them, have training reviews with them. Don't just very often people say, "Oh, this software doesn't work because of it's because very often that they've not thought about doing it a different way, or typically that you're talking to the person who's in the third or fourth doing this job, and they've just been trained by the person before, and they do it that way.
Always done it that way.
Always been done that way. So again, sort of training and reviews of sort of training these on people's software, or just having that half an hour, whatever it is, just to sit down with someone just to review it. Just it gives them time to think, yeah, maybe there is a different way to do it. So the second one is just talking about on this one source of truth.
Yeah.
Streamline everything, cuts down on errors, as Ben said. Fewer databases is fewer data to manage. Therefore, less errors. Therefore, time is freed up to do other more productive things within the business.
Yeah.
My final one is automation. Yeah, don't become a slave to your system. Make your system work for you. And again, it frees up your time, makes you more efficient for moving your business forward.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Well, thank you so much, both of you. Great to have you with us for our first ever episode of More Than Numbers. But that is not the end. There will be part 2 of our technology exploration coming out shortly. So keep your eyes peeled. We'll be doing a bit more of a deep dive into some of those key topics. So look forward to seeing you then.
The More Than Numbers podcast.